As in, the salary range is yeah. If you put in the work, you can definitely get promotions and get into the high brackets.
Yep.
But obviously, for an entry level data scientist, someone that just coming into the field, what can I do to actually maximize the amount that I'm owed, that the amount that's open to? I want to get the most.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. So one thing is treat your job seriously, meaning so many people have a job and like they clock in like 30 hours a week. Like go hard in your job, learn as much as you can. Second you stop learning, go switch your job, go get another job. And in this day and age, job isn't for a lifetime. You could work somewhere, especially in your first job, for just a year. I worked in my first job for a year and 2 months. You can definitely work for only a year and a half and switch your job, especially if you find your learning rate coming down. Second thing is, even if your job's boring or you're not learning much there, you got crazy amount of free time. And we have all this access to the world's best resources out there for free today, thanks to Coursera and EDX and Kaggle and all these different course providers. Like, what's scarce these days isn't the resources to learn, it's the desire to learn. That's what's scarce. And it's that work ethic, or it's that drive to actually do those things. So I think it's just be a learning machine in your first few years of your career, learn everything you can, say yes to the big projects, and focus on adding real business value is another thing. Like, as much as you're spending time on the technical stuff, think about, how can I become a better writer, presenter, communicator? How can I learn more about the industry our business is in so that I can more effectively communicate with my business stakeholders or my product managers? That's really how you level up. Because as you get higher and higher, you solve bigger and bigger problems. Bigger and bigger problems means working with more and more people. Working with more and more people means you got to be able to talk to different kinds of people. And what that means is, if I have to work with, when you're like an entry level data scientist, software engineer, you just take whatever's given to you by the product manager. But when you climb up the ranks, you have to start making your own product decisions, or like working with your product manager or your business stakeholder. So as you climb up the ladder, you got to kind of know a little bit more about what product managers do, what my business stakeholders are looking for, what my end customers are looking for, so that you can kind of cross-functionally talk to everybody and lead these bigger projects, because that's how you really get those bigger paychecks. So I think that's one of those things that people can do early on, is to learn more technically, but also I think in sports it's called cross-training. So you don't injure yourself from running. They tell you go swim or go bike, because those are different muscles, but they still build up your cardio. What's the equivalent in data science? Like, go hard on data science and ML skills, but spend a little bit of time learning about product management or your domain. Like, if you're in transportation or logistics, go learn supply chain.
That's very relevant.
That's how you get superpowers.
Yes. Another question. Have you sent a cold email to Drake yet?
No, but that's a really good idea. I should. The funniest cold email I sent was, there's this Netflix show called Indian Matchmaking. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
It's this reality TV show of this matchmaker in India who sets up people on dates so that they can get married through arranged marriages. And it went super viral, like in India, but also across the Indian American community, like the Indian expat community all across the world. So I sent an email to the matchmaker saying, like, can I be on the show? And like, she's like, yeah, I can fill out all these details. And I started filling them out. But then I was like, okay, this is getting a little too real. Because so I I was like, okay, I don't want to be on reality TV. Also, it's not like I would have been cast. It's not obvious that I've been cast, but it was just like, oh wow, this Netflix TV person is responding to me, and I could be potentially on this dating show.
Do you have any other nuggets? Is it, obviously you have them all in your book, but could you just give us like a sneak peek into nuggets?
Sure.
You can incorporate to your resume.
Sure. So you bring up a good point, and for listeners at home, it's all about quantifying your achievements, right? So tell me how you improve precision or recall, or tell me about how many dollars you saved for the company, or how many dollars your model generated, or tell me about the lift you got in click-through rates with your ad prediction model. Quantify it where you can. And here's the thing, you are actually in a spot that most people are. We do all this work, And it's like, the metric, I don't really have a metric to quantify how effective my work was. And I'll be honest, a lot of people have been there. So the trick is, and this is the nugget, in your current job right now, think about what are the numbers for this upcoming project that you're working on. Almost think about the end result before you even start. Okay. Because that might actually change what the end result you want to have is. Okay. So at Amazon, I'll give you an example. At Amazon, they talk about this where before they launch a product, they write up the press release for the product as if it was already done. Because they say, oh, we just launched a new Amazon Kindle reader that can store 7,000 books, like can do this, this, this. That's what tells people like, oh, wow, we're trying to brag about how many books the Kindle reader can store. I guess this go around, we should really work on optimizing storage because that's what we're really trying to brag and win on, right? So it's a very different way to think about your project versus a PM telling you like, oh, I want this spec versus, oh, the press release is all about how we have really good storage and battery life. I guess we should really focus on those things, So thinking a little bit more about the future state and then working backwards is really helpful, right? So I think that many people who don't quantify things in their own projects, that's fine. Let's get it right on your next thesis project or your next work project. When you're tasked with something, ask them, think, is this going to grow dollars or is it going to save dollars? Is it going to improve or reduce? Is it going to reduce latency? And if so, what's that number before I even start my work?
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that number before you start your work, how are you going to tell a future hiring manager that you actually made something improve, right? And then how are you going to tell your PM? How are you going to tell your boss? How are you going to get promoted without that number, right? So that's one of those first things, which is like, it's not even just about your, trying to get a new job. It's just like, if you want to get promoted in your own job, you better have those numbers so that when it comes time for your performance reviews, you can go tell the boss man or the VP, like, hey, this is the before state. This is the after state. Look at what I did, and not try to do your project and then think, oh, what actually happened? Like, how do I actually improve it? I don't really know. We should have benchmarked it.
I'm just before we round up this podcast, is there any sort of last nugget, anything you want to let us know, the listeners?
Yeah, I think my last message is just let people know that there's a lot of reasons you could justify why you're not maybe having the career you want. Like, oh, I don't have a master's, or my work visa is this, or I studied economics, not computer science, or this is wrong. And I think just be honest with yourself and realize like, hey man, there's so many resources out there today that allow you to self-learn and self-teach yourself. So many books out there, so many courses. You really can change your life. You can really change your own fortune by focusing your time and like getting through these technical concepts, building projects, and then showing that off to people. Like this barrier, like, oh, I don't have a PhD. How am I going to do this or that? It really isn't as big as you think, right? Because as you yourself said with this whole cold email thing, like, oh, so someone I thought would never respond to me responded to me in a few hours. That's like think about how much your reality changed. This person will never respond to me. Went to, oh, you responded in a few hours. Wow. And now you realize you could do that to anybody. You know what I mean? And that's the same thing here where it's like, oh, people are always like, oh, I don't have this work visa. I don't have this. I don't have my correct educational thing. It's like, hey, if you can go take a course on anything in the world that's worth learning for free practically today, the only thing in the way is you. So if you can get yourself out of the way, the world's you can do anything.